Hi, kitty cats. Pride Month is not about being queer. I know that now, but I didn't until about 2023 when someone I thought was my friend became the person who tried to erase me. Now, that one act of discrimination forced me to reevaluate everything I thought I understood. And what I found is this: pride is about fighting for who you are and doing whatever it takes to survive. So tonight I want to share how I came to understand that and why an Egyptian myth might be the most accurate description of the hate and discrimination we face every single day. Well, let me say hello to a few people here. I see Margie and I see Angela. Oh, and I see Dudko. Hello. Good to see you all. Um, so I am Dr. Amethysta Herrick. I am both a scientist and a content creator. My whole niche is about discussing identity and gender through the lens of the scientific method. You can find out so much information about me and the work that I do at my website, which you'll see right down here, which is purplepawclan.com. There you'll find a page just about me. You can find the social networks I'm on and follow me there like you do. There is a blog page. You can read the articles that I write. There is a podcast page you can listen to, watch the podcasts I record with exceptionally interesting people. There's also a page to join our Discord server, the Purple Pod Discord server. We actually have about 50 or so people in there, so you can come and be part of the solution by being part of the discussion. And then finally, I do have a page about the hypnotherapy work that I do to help people work through issues with identity and gender. So if you want to support my work, and I have no reason to think you wouldn't, you can get a subscription on the website, actually, for as little as $5 a month. But you can also just go there and sign up for the free newsletter that publishes every so often. I have something planned for Friday for what it's worth. And if you follow me on all the social media and then like and share what I do, that is beautiful support as it is. And finally, you can get, if you'd like to contribute your original work on identity or gender, I love to publish other people's work. So email me using the contact page on the website, which for the last time, purplepawclan.com. Oh, I'm all done. Oh my gosh, it's 1 o'clock in Poland. Thank you for staying up. Oh, Margie just said that. Hilarious. All right, here we go. Let me see. Oh my gosh, Dudeko says they're binge watching streams. This is the third one. Yikes. I hope I live up to it. Oh gosh, Bo makes the point that hate and discrimination we see is probably envy in disguise. I have a thought on that. And I don't think you're completely wrong. So hold on to that. Here's why I'm doing this live stream. It's Pride Month, obviously. So happy Pride. If you know much about my content, you actually know that Pride Month, really, I should say the whole concept of behind Pride is really a pillar of what I talk about and why I talk about it, which is interesting because it was not always this way. I used to look at Pride Month as like this gimmick, right? This was like another way for companies to cash in on queer people in isolation. You know, when you're starving for a community, even like a rainbow IBM logo looks inviting. You go, wow, look, they really understand me. I suppose I should buy a mainframe computer. And along that line, I thought it was another way just for lovely people. And I'm not saying I dislike the queer community, but it was a reason to have a party. And I have always sort of seen celebration as a result, like it should come by finishing something. Now, as it turns out, both of these are misconceptions, right? That's not what this has always been about. But these misconceptions, my own misconceptions, were based in a literal meaning of Pride Month. And that was obviously on me, right? Not Pride Month. That's my inability to pull my head out of a literal understanding. But it did take becoming a target myself before I ever recognized it. Now excuse me, I realize that I have never really told this story in full. I've alluded to it. I've talked about some of the events, but I never really talked about what went on inside, like how that ended up changing me. So tonight I'm going to tell the whole story. Obviously, I'm going to pull names out to protect the innocent? I'm not sure how true that is. Wait until you hear the story and maybe it'll make a difference. But I want to tell this story in part because I actually came across an Egyptian myth. It's in a book I'm reading. Maybe you remember The Art of Memory, because I did a live where I talked about memory a bit, and this myth came up, and I went, wow, that really captures exactly the difference that I see between experiencing something and the words that we use to describe an experience. And so we're going to get to all of this tonight. What I'm going to discuss, what we'll all discuss, first, my actual story, right? To go from pride hater to pride activist. How did that happen? Then we're going to talk about the story of the Egyptian god Thoth, who's the Egyptian god of writing and of the moon and a few other things. We can talk about how Thoth's story isn't the same as the error I made, but in that story, you see what fuels what we see, I think, about Pride Month all around us, like right now. And then finally, we'll get to what I realize, and probably all of you realize Pride Month is all about, and how it is not only a queer thing. And I think that's an important distinction to make. So let me see. So Margie says it's interesting that she has always known that she's queer, but it wasn't until gender exploration days that she actually went to Pride. Yeah, I mean, I think you're talking about an experience very similar to mine. Oh, Mistress Moonbeam just joined. That sounds fun, Mistress Moonbeam. Hopefully hopefully you don't have you're not hanging out with Mr. Moonlight, because there was a song. Apparently somebody killed Mr. Moonlight, and I don't know who killed Mr. Moonlight, but anyway, Mistress Moonbeam, hello. All right, sorry, back to this. Agreed with you, Margie. I never really went to a Pride festival until, well, I mean, I'll tell the story, but yeah, it's weird how I have known this about myself and just kind of gone, nah, not for me. So, and here you go. Yes. So Margie says she saw a clip from some anti-transgender idiot belittling rainbow logos in June, including Grindr. Well, yeah, unexpected there for sure. But I know that I saw like a rainbow IBM logo, and I'm like, oh, please, come on. And then I put out a video yesterday. I was very proud of the fake, rainbow washed logos I put into a video I did yesterday. Because I did those, obviously. I don't think those 3 brands that I parodied are going to rainbow wash their logos, but there you go. Okay, let me move on a little bit. I want to talk about how, I became, I don't know if I want to say an overt target of discrimination. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. So here's the point. Let me take a step back. I'm going to set the stage a bit here. You probably remember I didn't transition gender until I was 52. So it was 2022. So whatever, 4 years, just under 4 years ago. Before that, although I knew very well, as Margie was saying, although I knew very well I was queer, I called myself bisexual and transgender. Now I get with pansexual. But even though I knew that I was pansexual and transgender, even though I had expressed that for about 30 years at that point, it's not very noticeable. Right? I mean, what do I mean by that? Like, I could certainly, when I was working in the industry, pass as someone who might be a cishet white man. Right? We've talked about this in relation to stigma, right? Goffman, in Irving Goffman's book, he uses that word exactly, pass, that you might have someone who possesses a stigma, but can go into a social environment and pass in the social environment that would stigmatize them as if they don't actually have that stigma. And of course, Goffman talked initially about having gone to prison. So it was apparently today, I don't know, maybe you have to carry around a thing. I was in prison. Anyway, so I could ostensibly pass as a cishet white man. And this was extremely important, like more than I realized, because what it meant until I started transitioning gender in 2022 was that I hadn't really been the target of discrimination since I'd lived in Georgia some 25 years later. This is Georgia, the state, okay, the American Southeast. Although I don't know if Georgia, the country, right now is great either. But in the American Southeast, where all the Hicks stories come from, right? The dueling banjos stuff. Oh my gosh, Lucifer just showed up. That's awesome. Hello, Lucifer. So what happened was this. Okay, what happened is I met a friend. I had this friend. I had met him on a job. When I was working as a software architect, he and I got along extremely well. We actually had a very similar way of solving problems, and we had a very similar way of visualizing a problem. I come from a very theoretical background. He was a very practical. He is very practical, and so we could have a discussion. And as an architect, I could say, "Here's what I think it should do," and he could knock out the code that would make it do what I thought it should do. So it was a very good working relationship. I ended up hiring this guy at 2 different jobs. I mean, I fought for the title that he got. I fought for the salary, his starting salary raises, the vacation that he got. What I didn't know was that although it was a very good working relationship, it was actually a pretty fragile friendship. I had no idea. Now I began growing my hair out and thinking about transition while we were still working together. This was right at the beginning of 2022, because I started thinking about it end of 21 or so. By mid 2022, when I began transition, we weren't working together because I had moved on, whatever. But I had told this guy what I was going to do. And he said it was fine. At first, anyway, he said it was all fine. Like there was one time I went to meet him for coffee and I was wearing nail polish. And I remember him dropping him off at his house and I said, I feel a little funny. I was wearing nail polish. I kind of meant to take it off and I didn't have time. And he looked at me and says, "Why?" And I went, "Well, because I had a pretty good reason why. Because he's super conservative. He had always had these conspiracy theories that he'd go, "Oh yeah, this is going to happen. You just wait. And then our alien overlords are going to do, whatever it is." So he's very conservative, conspiracy theories, very Christian. And I made this natural assumption he wasn't going to support what I was doing. And I mean, this is not unheard of, right? I mean, if you go anywhere near conservative Christians, and you're gender diverse, you don't typically get a great response. So it seemed that I was wrong. I had pegged this guy wrong. I mean, at least at first. Okay. So 2023 comes along. I've been transitioning about 6 months. I go to this guy's wedding, whatever, and I send the guy a birthday greeting. This would have been March. And he replies saying that he's worried about me. Because, the way it turned out was that, the expansion of this, his God is going to hate me unless I stop everything that I'm doing. His God's going to send me to hell. And as such, must be that I'm a bad person. I'm going to tell you, it was kind of interesting to see it framed this way, that his God would hate me, therefore I must be a bad person. Typically, you see that the other direction, right? That lack of virtue causes isolation from the group, right? Not, okay, you're isolated from the group, and so we're going to assume, well, that's a proof of lack of virtue. So it was weird. And so I did what any normal person would do. I ignored it. Like you do, right? So that was in March. I was like, whatever. Bro doesn't know. I said it just like that. Bro doesn't know. So I get this other email, this next email. I get an email. It was early June of 2023. And I'm not entirely sure, the day. It doesn't make a difference. But it was early June 2023. For what it's worth, that would mean that I had been going into transition I had been in transition just under a year. So 11 months at this point, okay? And it's interesting because the time frame worked like this. I published an article that I titled, "I am not proud to be transgender," on June 1st. You can actually still read this article on the Purple Paw website. It was right down there. You can still read this article. And this guy emailed within that first week. So I published this saying, whatever. And then I got this email. And everything I knew about Pride really got pulled out from under me. So that gets me to the climax of the story. Didn't quite mean it like that, but if that's what's going on tonight, good. Hold on to this story, okay? Hold on to my story here. That I was shaken by this ugly email that that I got from this person I thought was my friend, and that makes me think about Pride, okay? Because now I want to weave in the story of Thoth, this Egyptian god. So I'm gonna grab some comments here. We'll get there in a sec. Here we go. See, Angela says when Pride first started, it was a protest. And in the UK, it's becoming that again. Yeah, especially with regard to transgender hatred. Yes, it started as a protest. And I mean, there's some interesting lore behind all of this, right? I mean, well, I don't want to go into all of it. The point is, yes, I mean, it was a protest. It was largely a protest against discrimination. That you go, why would you discriminate against me because of the people I love or whatever? And it makes some sense, right? Like why is that? Why is that a thing? So the protest, I think, makes sense. Yeah, okay, so Dudiko says it's kind of funny because they haven't understood gender until about 9. Okay, 9 years old, and then started being like, we should ignore it, it's stupid, which I'm going to tell you, I don't think is a surprise. I mean, they go on to say they've identified as non-binary since they were 11, and at 13, realized also transgender FTM. Now, an interesting tidbit is I mean, as soon as I would say when I was younger, I did the same sort of thing, that I had people who were like, well, you're not a girl. Like, you know that, right? You're not a girl. And I was like, oh, fuck this. This is stupid. Nobody. And I think that's actually possibly common. Well, I don't know, maybe, but who knows? But, what was this? There was one I was going to say. Oh, here we go, Liz. Margie says, at a protest in 2022, she made good use of her vocal projection, although she had no megaphone. She was, by hollering, she got a third of the march chanting, "Go Freaks." I like that, right? Hey, Genevieve just got here. Yeah, here we go. See, look at this. Our alien overlords. This was one of the conspiracy theories. So Kent Brockman says, I, for one, welcome our nail polish wearing overlords. Yeah, I think that's what this guy was thinking, except it wouldn't be nail polish. It would be like, cross wearing. I don't know. So somebody named Major says purple hair isn't a good look. Okay. Appreciate the fashion tip. Like you do. Hello, Forrest. Ooh, what did I miss from Ella? Hello, Ella. Good to see you. Me a pizza. All right, I'm going to let me move on a little bit. So I want to talk about the Egyptian god Thoth. And it's interesting because you're going to tell this story, and I want you to think of it as like Thoth is the bearer of ignorance. Okay, run with me for a second. Thoth is an Egyptian god. God of the moon, god of a lot of things. God of the moon, first of all, knowledge, wisdom, writing. Writing was a big one. God of a whole lot of things. And all of them are, when you look at those, they're internal experiences of learning and understanding. And I know, right? Okay, writing is external. I get that. But the process is an internal process that you make tangible. And for that matter, the moon is external too. Okay, I know that. So I'm not this goofy. But the moon has actually typically symbolized our internal fears and the development that we have to go through in order to overcome them. If you look at the tarot, like the modern tarot deck, the major arcana has a card, the moon, and it symbolizes exactly that. which also should come as no surprise because that interpretation would largely come from the Golden Dawn from the late 19th century, which was highly steeped all over with Egyptian mythology. So this story of Thoth. It turns out the story that I'm going to tell comes from Plato, technically, in particular Plato's Phaedrus. I'm going to tell you I don't know if this can be found directly in Egyptian culture. I did a little bit of research. I can't find solid information either way. So maybe we assume it only comes from Plato, but it goes like this. Thoth is a god, right? He's hanging out. Thoth invents, among other things, numbers and letters, among other things, because like arithmetic and a lot of things, but invented numbers and letters. And he gets challenged by a character named Thamus. Now, at the time, Thamus was the king of Egypt, also another god. The Greek would have named Thamus Ammon, but we're going to run with this, okay? So Thamus asks, well, hey, Thoth, because they're hanging out, drinking a beer or something. Hey, Thoth, what's so great about numbers and letters? After all, don't we have memory? Don't we have performance? Don't we have oration? Why would we need numbers or letters? And Thoth goes, oh, it's a good, really good question. Great question. I love this question. A lot of people have asked me this question. And Thoth says, try that. Thoth says, numbers and letters are the tools of memory and wisdom. All the things you're talking about, they're tools of them. With numbers and letters, we can write things down. Oh, it's not holding the beer anymore. With numbers and letters, we can write things down. And having written them down, we can pass them on. Other people can read the letters and know exactly what the writer knew as they were writing it. And so Thoth, is pretty proud of this. He's like, I originated the idea that knowledge could be tangible. And perhaps in some way a commodity to be used in perhaps, 1900 years. Got to do a little math. Knowledge could be tangible, maybe a commodity. In fact, passing on the knowledge, might even be a commodity, right? So Thomas disagrees. Don't try saying Thoth if you have a lisp. Agreed. Hello, Billy Tubamp. So Thomas disagrees with Thoth. Okay, Thomas goes, no. Numbers and letters are the tools of forgetfulness and ignorance. And Thoth is like, what? Bro. Thomas goes, no. Passing on knowledge is impossible. Even when you read your own words, you really only remind yourself of the experience that inspired those words. But it's only a reminder. It's not the experience. And if someone else reads the words you wrote, they don't have the experience that you had that gave you that knowledge. What writing does, what letters and numbers do, they allow humans not to have to experience life. Not having to remember what works and what works or what doesn't work in our life. Right? You experience something, you go, that worked, that didn't work. Well, if you write it down, you don't have to remember it. And with the written word, we don't really have to learn anything because we get the impression of experience. We read somebody's words, we get this impression of experience, this impression of learning, but no actual wisdom, which is experience applied. As a side note, by the way, Plato is considered the founder of rationalism. And I'm going to paraphrase slightly. Anita will probably correct me, which is fine. Which, by the way, hi, Anita. I saw you came in. Rationalism is the idea that experience only ends up corroborating your existing knowledge. That you start off, just being born, you have this set of knowledge. It's with you whether you experience something or not. Which is kind of a weird thing. So what Thomas is trying to say, ultimately, and what I've said in several places, that the point of all of this is that what writing does is writing creates labels. And labels end up with definitions. And definitions can be weaponized because they are not experienced. And that was what happened, not just to me. I mean, it happened in 2023, but I think this is exactly the issue we're facing as a society, that labels, the words ultimately, can be used without knowledge of what they mean. And I'm obviously talking at least a little bit about some of the science stuff that I've talked about, but even when you think about the word pride, so now I can actually talk about how my perception of pride did change. Because I think we can also see in that story the reason why there's such a backlash against pride as a an event, as a concept, especially from our current administration. Hello, Felicia. Good to see you. Um, March. Oh gosh. Well, I've got to do this one. Hang on. Angela says if she believed in God, which she doesn't, she would definitely end up in hell. And you know what? I think that's a. I mean, I'll save a seat for you on the bus. Um, Margie says she ends up in hell pretty often. Hell Pizza, which is a delicious restaurant. I remember that one. That's funny. Let me do this. All right, so let me see. What else do we have? Okay, so good point, Angela. So Angela says the words don't always give the information that you intend to impart, depending how it is interpreted. Yeah, I mean, and she brings up the Bible, but even if I were to say this was my experience and you've had a very similar experience, you don't understand my experience just as I don't understand yours. We can use labels and go, well, it was like this. And you go, oh, well, I labeled another experience of mine like that. So maybe I do get it. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think that, well, hang on, because I'm going to get here. This is really sort of my next point. So thank you for the segue, Angela. Now that I've talked about this story in 2023, and then the story of Thoth and Thamus, I want to talk about words, labels, experience, and how they don't necessarily all correlate. And that's how you end up with ignorance. I have done other live streams, and you can go find them. Live streams about my own theory of identity. And the first part is that we possess at birth a set of core knowledge about ourselves. It's not exactly Plato's entire realm of forms, but we have a core knowledge about ourselves. And it's not exhaustive, but it does have a very low level understanding of who we are. A low level understanding of what we like, what we dislike, and what it means to be who we are. But aside from this origin of identity, we also experience life. And those experiences are like the accretion around a grain of sand to form a pearl. And I've used this analogy. I think I just used it on Sunday. Those experiences are like the accretion around a grain of sand to form a pearl. So our full current identity as of now, because it's always changing, our full current identity is the pearl. It's who we know we are from this core knowledge, and it's what we've experienced as our core knowledge interacted with the world around us, including the people. So I believe very strongly, first of all, that experience is a significant part of learning. So what happened to me in June of 2023? I had forgotten what it meant to be the target of discrimination. And I will tell you, I had never experienced the rejection that I did in 2 emails from this old friend, from this guy former friend, I guess I'll say. And it threw me. If you go back to my article on the 1st of July, 2023, I used a definition as my basis for the whole article. I says, look, pride is defined as, and I went and got some definition, Oxford English Dictionary, who knows, pleasure or satisfaction taken in an achievement, possession, or association. So typically, as I saw it, certainly at that point, pride required effort, a plan, overcoming exceptional odds. Which I won't kid you, like that last one clicked a little bit as I was writing it, but I kind of ignored it. I was like, exceptional odds, whatever. So that article says, in short, I really can't be proud to be an American, right? I just happened to be born here. It's not like here I am in utero, asking my parents, hey, can you look, there's a border over here. Can you just step over that border? That's going to be great. Yeah, in 55 years, they'll hold me up as like an anchor baby. It'll be great. A small group of small-minded people with big mouths. They're going to come and threaten me with pitchforks and torches. You'll be so proud. So they're going to point to me and say, this is what's wrong with the country, is everything that's wrong with this country today, even though I'm only one person and they're the ones with the means of making the country as it is today. You'll be so proud of me. Like, I didn't work to be an American. I mean, and not like that would have been an American either, but I didn't work to do this. It wasn't an achievement. My article also goes on to say, well, I can't be proud of how I look. To a certain extent. I can't be proud of being born with white skin. Can't be proud of being born with sort of hazel eyes. Can't be proud of being born with purple hair. Can't be proud of being born with purple hair. But these are just flukes of genetics, not possessions that I worked to acquire. And finally, the article goes on to say that I also cannot be proud of being pansexual or transgender. I was born like this. I didn't choose it. I didn't want it. It's just simply who I am. And if pride has to come from an achievement, possession, or whatever the other one was, association, it's just simply who I am. I can't be proud of that. But that's the definition. And at least at the beginning of June 2023, this is what my mind wrapped around. Until I experienced that discrimination for being who I am. And that discrimination, Bo had brought up before, that maybe it's jealousy. I think there's some. That discrimination comes from the lack of experience. Like, this guy read words about who I am. He does not know who I am. He hates the words. He hates the labels, or at the very least, he's been taught by his church to hate the words, hate the labels, but he cannot hate the experience because he's never had it. And ultimately, that's what clicked for me in June of 2023. I realized that all that Thoth had brought with him, all the numbers, all the letters, the words, the labels, they could be used as weapons. And they truly are. Tools for ignorance. And tools for memory and tools for wisdom. But my friend learned nothing about me because he chose not to. What he chose was to listen to words and other people's interpretation, as Angela put it, of what those words signified, what the experiences signified. And this is what we see on a global level. It's not just this one guy. It's not even, for that matter, it's not even just the queer community. It's not conservative Christians. Thoth versus Thamus is modeled in social media right now. You can go to Google, you can go to ChatGPT and, type something in and you think you learned something, right? You can go find a politician's website, listen to a soundbite and go, oh, I totally understand morality now. But if you haven't experienced what you read, if you haven't experienced what you hear, you've got no basis for the evaluations you're going to make. All you can do is make an evaluation based on ignorance. So armed with this distinction, how did Pride Month actually become a pillar of my work? Ultimately, it all comes down to experience and our need to guard it, literally, from others. That's my last topic here, but let me check comments here. So Margie says she considers linguistic communication as truly magical. It's practical telepathy. It can take an idea in one's head and transplant it into another, even across millennia. Don't misunderstand me. I think language is extremely important. And I think that that it's really easy to misuse. There's a little meme that's going around now who says, I love books. There's nothing like somebody from 300 years ago making me feel depressed about my life today, something like that. So I don't disagree that there is a magic to words, to language. It definitely, however, is what enables those concepts ultimately to be weaponized. And I think that we talked a little bit about this when Courtney was on, um, a few weeks ago. That until a label had been put on something, it wasn't obvious what to hate because the hate was nebulous. You just go out and those like them, like those people. I don't them the guys. What do you call them? Gay? Oh yeah, gays. I hate gays. Thanks. Quick. Until there was the label, it wasn't obvious. What you were hating. So there's magic, and I think there's a curse in it as well. Um, oh, this is fascinating. So first of all, Anita's quoting Nabokov. Well, Nabokov's story. Um, not always well looked upon today, but so Anita says the mother of a Nabokov character warned him never to speak about feelings because once you put them in words, they start resembling similar feelings of other people and lose their truth. Ooh, that sounds very Nabokov, first of all, but not that I'm reading Nabokov today. You understand, just. And then Anita goes on to say, they think that reminds us of both sides of this coin. Words always lose some of the specificity of experience, but they can elucidate what we have in common and take us out of isolation. See, the sad thing is, I think if I have an experience that is really radically different from yours, let's just talk about the gay experience, okay? Because I don't know what you would call that, or I don't know how you would describe that. I can come up with a description of mine, but I'm willing to bet they would be two traitors passing by, right? Two star-crossed thoughts that, yeah, I was hoping I was going to get poetic. I didn't make it, but anyway, I've got it. So here we go. Bo says she's glad she wasn't born with orange hair. I'm glad I wasn't born with an orange face. I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. See, here we go. Marge even says her purple hair is perfectly natural. It's just the way Schwarzkopf made it. Oh, didn't see that one. Dodgy archetype. Yeah, look at this. Hello, Dodgy. Oh boy, we got standpoint epistemology. We do. This whole thing turned ugly, but hello, Laura Jean. Good to see you. Okay, I didn't even want to go on this long. I was hoping it would be 30 minutes. Let me finish this up. Because what I want to say here is that based on everything I'm trying to say here, pride is for everyone. To be clear, all right, that experience I had in 2022 with my former friend really hurt. I mean, it hurt a lot. It hurt enough that it inspired me to take a lot of actions. A lot of actions. It was I was making pictures. In fact, actually, one of those actions was my first annual Pied for Pride thing that I did in June of 2023. That's not the story I have tonight, okay? But that experience forced me to reconsider what Pride is all about. And Laura Jean asked, "What did you miss?" My understanding of where Pride ended up coming from. So I had erroneously read the phrase Pride Month literally as a month in which you should be proud of your queer characteristics. And I was safe in this error until, 52 from whatever. I was, 20 something when I left Georgia, 28 when I left Georgia, 52 when I started transition. I was safe in that error during that time because while I could label discrimination, I had not truly experienced it in expressing who I am. And maybe you go, well, what about back in Georgia? I think I would say I didn't completely feel it in Georgia either, because it was easy to take off the makeup, take off the velvet skirt, take off rings, the nail polish. I mean, it would be hard to get the black out of my hair, but I could always retreat into this fortress of alleged ostensible cishet normativity. So this experience in 2023 showed me that being queer full time is exhausting. Everybody out there is going, no shit. It's exhausting. Showing queer characteristics specifically right now, or especially right now, takes effort, takes work, because being who you are in the face of discrimination takes work. And we've talked about this in relationship to stigma, right? When you face stigma, when you face this discrimination, performance suffers. I mean, we have abundant data to show this. Being who you are in the face of discrimination takes a lot of work. So pride, as I saw it as feeling pride for your queer characteristics, but pride is not about feeling pride for our queer characteristics. Pride is about celebrating that you made it this far with those queer characteristics in a society that chooses to discriminate against you for them. And maybe right now you're saying, wow, really, Amy? Like I spent this long, I spent 41 minutes listening to this for you to tell me what I already knew? Oh, well, I'm 41 minutes back. Oh, hey, Azalea just joined. That's my niece. Hi. You're probably thinking, I knew this. Why are you telling me this? No, I am not saying anything groundbreaking here, at least not to the queer community. But that discrimination, again, this is the distinction between reading and experiencing. Okay, if you experience something, you understand what it feels like to be discriminated for it. But if you only can read something, that's what enables the discrimination that I'm talking about. As we spend our time creating more and new labels to describe who we are, we arm our opponents with more and new weapons to misuse. And they misuse them and will always misuse them because they haven't experienced them. And maybe you're going to go, I know a couple of conservatives who probably have experienced them. Yes, you have, but they have to pretend they haven't. And it makes it worse, to go back to Beau's point. So I'm not saying anything groundbreaking. I understand that. But if discrimination comes from ignorance willingly chosen, who faces this discrimination? Was it just me? Was it just the gender diverse community? Is it just the queer community? Is it the mishmash group of all social minorities? No. Because when you experience something, and if you like that experience or if you don't like that experience, and someone else, without experiencing what you have experienced, hates you for it, that's what we're looking at here. That person is the Thoth to your Thamus. Being who you are requires effort and work, and it doesn't matter who you are. It requires effort. And so we should, all of us, be proud of the effort we go through simply to maintain our sense of who we are when the world is against us. Fighting against stigma in any form is very difficult. And if you're doing it, you deserve your pride in a job well done. But that does mean that Pride Month is for every human out there. If we are to celebrate how difficult it is to be yourself, we have to celebrate that in everyone. So to sum up, finally, Pride Month does matter. It mattered before I figured it out. It's going to matter for always. It's always going to matter. And it matters because humans are always going to choose to stigmatize other humans. That's what we really need to fight against. So happy Pride Month, everyone. That was all I had to talk about tonight. All right, let me see. What else do we have? So Angela says her experience of being transgender is different from other transgender people, uh, at least women anyway, because she passes and so live in a cisgender world. You are one of those people who can avoid the stigma, ostensibly, avoid the stigma unless somebody finds out. Um, so, because I mean, for the most part, same. I think my experience of being transgender is a little different. And, Jasmine Vine and I have spoken about this a little bit here too, because she and I have both gotten somebody who said flat out, oh, you can't understand this experience. How could you? You don't have to face my discrimination. And it's a good point. I don't face the same experience that other people do. I don't think that means that I don't face the discrimination. So, but the experience is definitely different. And I want to be doubly sensitive to those who really have to fight to be who they are. Because people look at me, they go, oh, weird hair. And that's about it. Weird. There's a whole lot of purple. Weird. But that's it. So, um, Anita gets it in one. P.S. Don't judge Nabokov by the bad movies made from the one novel. Agreed. Agreed, my friend. There is so much more to Nabokov than Lolita, no doubt. No doubt. It's interesting because his books, it was about, I can't think of what it is, the Black Tower, the Watchtower. Can't think of what it was. Stephen King had a series of books, I think it was called The Black Tower. It's not that important. Where a lot of things started, like all of his books sort of started bleeding into each other. And you see, it was in the tower stuff, and then it bled into other things. And you went, what the hell? There would be like one scene. I remember reading a book and I was like, what the hell was that? Like, nope, it was one page. Okay, whatever the hell. And then like 5 years later, a book comes out and I go, oh, was that, what the, did, anyway, Nabokov did the same thing. He you can read one of his first books, and then 20 years later, there's still like some words that you would see in that book that might have been in another. Anyway, really weird stuff. So yeah, Nabokov. Yeah, don't judge him entirely by Lolita, but. So Margie says, yes, when you face discrimination, performance suffers. That we've seen it across the board. Every marginalized community, every marginalized person. Let me put it like that. Thank you, Laura Jean. This is a subtle and important difference. I think that when we right, I mean, this comes down to the I'm gonna put it in like kid terms, right? Somebody always says, well, don't judge someone until you've walked a mile in their shoes. Which I've always had, sort of strange feet. So, I think that would have been a worse experience for me. But I do believe that experience ultimately is the real thing. And here's where I'm even going to take that too, because I say, the real fight that we have is stigmatization. And I don't really know. Like, you can't people stigmatize other people because they don't understand the experience. They go, well, that goes against social norms. That's weird. I don't understand why somebody would have gone to prison. I don't understand why somebody would be gay. Who cares? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you don't have to understand an experience in order to go, not mine, not worth judging. So, anyway, thank you. Oh gosh. So Dudko says that's true. Every time they meet new people, they have to pick between using their dead name, or coming out. And it does get complicated because they know a lot of people. Yeah, the very first day, like literally the day that I put on my very first estradiol patch, I met somebody who said, listen, you are going to come out every day. It doesn't end. You don't come out and then you're done, right? It's you come out and then you meet somebody else and they go, oh, well, do you have a husband? And you go, no, I do. I have a wife. Oh, really? Oh, that's odd. And it happens insidiously. Like you don't even notice when it's going to happen. You just kind of go, well, here we go. Look at that. I got to come out again. So, hey, Matt. Good to see you, Matt. And so I think this is so Anita says they've long read pride simply as a statement of refusing the shame society put on us. And I think that's a way of saying what I'm saying, that we need to be aware of the effort we put into surviving, literally surviving, because it's I'm going to say refusing the shame. I don't know that's possible. I don't know that you can go, "Oh, you want to shame me?" No. Because it hurts. It does hurt. It's hard to get out of. So, here we go. This, oh, there you go. So Laura Jean says celebrating the survival sounds much more like community. Does it make sense? Yes, like I 100% what I'm saying. You know, all of us are we're all here on this planet going, let's see if we can do something, get along. But we by embracing each other's experiences, that's where we end up finding some sort of peace. Embracing each other's experiences it's an experience of community, I think. So, yes, I believe so. Um, I cannot believe you did this. Margie says she will say that her trans experience has been harder than she thought it would be. Oh, famous on you. That was awful. Hey, Matt, don't worry about being around or not. Then Margie says to Bo, okay, I think we can look at the Hetero Awesome Fest to show us exactly how much straight pride exactly sucks. You know, there's a guy, oh, I can't remember who it is, but there's a guy that just came across my feed the other day, and he says every day he's going to do a straight pride celebration. And this is actually to call out the people, typically conservative Christians, who are doing precisely the things they accuse queer people of doing. So there you go. Wasn't the hetero fest like 12 dudes in a hot dog cart? Oh. Are we talking about the one with what's his face Kid Rock? Was that what it was? Because there's still the whole, there's still the WFC thing. I can't even UFC. Who knows? There's still like the punching guys on the uh, White House lawn coming up. So, oh boy. Yeah, was it? Did I get it right? The Dark Tower series. It was like 8 or 10 books, but a lot of things like bled into each other. So, wow, this is interesting. So Margie says she remembers Jake, who is a boy from the 70s in the Dark Tower novels. At one point says, "No, I'm not a Nazi. I'm an American. I'm American. How things change." Ooh, ouch. Yes, yeah, I'm wearing, I don't know, that's probably UK. I'm wearing like a 10.5 now, but oh well, it's fine. Oh gosh. Oh, I love this. Angela says she can't remember her dead name since she hasn't used it for 36 years. That'd be awesome. Straight pride is literally a celebration of mediocrity. Thank you, Matt. Mic drop moment. Dodgy Archetype says, I would be fine with straight pride, and I think it would be a good thing if literally any of them were sincere about it. I mean, right. What they're trying to do, in my opinion, and you see this actually, that just came up recently. This is the second year in a row that this administration has recognized what they're calling Title IX month. It doesn't exactly like roll off the tongue, Title IX month. But they're saying we're going to celebrate lack of discrimination by sex, race, and country of origin, right? Everything that's in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We're going to celebrate these things. And there's a great bit of irony in that, because these are the people who are discriminating against others by sex, country of origin, and, race. So, fascinating bit. But they're trying to do this as well because the Civil Rights Act of 1964 does not actually include sexuality or gender. And so this is a way of going, well, we're doing the same thing. We're just making it for everybody, but they're not. Because if they were, they would mean everybody and not the cishet white Christian normative everything. So So I agree with you, Dodgy Archetype. If they were sincere about it, they would say, well, then let's actually celebrate everyone. But what they're doing is, let me celebrate my own discrimination. Okay, go at it. Um, oh, Hetero Awesome Fest was actually a real thing. Oh boy. Oh boy. Um, all right, so what I'm gonna do, what time is it? Okay, cool. So what I'm gonna do, I think that was there's my Pride Month bit there. Here's me saying Happy Pride Month to everybody. I'm gonna take the old 5 minute break and come back. But there was something else I was gonna say. Well, I don't know. Oh yeah. Well, if you haven't subscribed, for what it's worth, no matter what platform you're on right now, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do that, because actually by the end of June, there will be some possible consequences for me, depending upon how well we grow my channel. I had a video about it yesterday. I'll probably make another one Thursday, but Pride for Pride 2026, everybody. Make sure to subscribe. All right. Taking a 5 minute break. There we go. 5 minute break. And we can play some Horizon. We'll do it. Okay. Be right back. Break.